Perfect. Welcome in to episode number 16 of the Hobby Hotline podcast, live this morning on YouTube. Our host this week, John Newman at Sports Card Nation. What's up, John?
Morning, everyone. Hope everyone's doing well as we slowly, get on the right side, hopefully, of what's going on.
Yes, sir. We have Stephan Loeffler at Junk Wax Twins from About the Cards.
Howdy.
And Tim Shepler at Big Shep 79 from About the Cards as well. We're the Hobby's only live call-in show. We're live every Saturday morning at 8 a.m. Pacific, 11 a.m. Eastern on YouTube, Periscope, and Facebook Live. Follow us on Twitter at Hobby Hotline, or as a podcast pretty much everywhere. And as you guys can see, we have a very special guest with us coming back, returning, Dr. James Beckett. Good morning, sir. How are we doing today?
I'm great, Big Shep. Glad to be here. Hi, John.
How are you, Dr. Beckett?
Hi, Stephan. Can't see your picture, but
Working on it, all of us.
yeah.
Good morning.
Well, outstanding, guys. Another great, crazy week in the hobby as everybody is getting very excited about what is going on. We had Bowman drop this week. We've seen Mosaic come out. There's a lot of talk about wiping out retail. We're going to get to all that today. If you guys want to come in, have a question, and join, check out the chat. The link is dropped. It's there, and call in and say hello. But Dr. Beckett, how have you been? How's life been during this quarantine for you?
Life is great. I tell people I'm semi-retired, but the last couple months it seems like I'm really retired, which I don't like. I like being semi-retired. So I'm still enjoying doing my podcast, interviewing some great guests. And Big Shep, you are on my radar.
Uh-oh, there we go. I like it.
Gotta get you on there. So I'm going to do another round of interviews and shows, kind of just enjoying that. So again, that makes me the semi-retired part, but I don't like this idleness. I mean, I enjoy being able to dig into the hobby, and the hobby's been strong. That's good, but it's just, I'd like to get back to normal.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think we all would. I think it's kind of getting there. And I have a question for you. So there's been a lot of talk in the last couple of days about, with everything being locked down, and we have, you could go into places that are deemed, necessary to be open, essential. And so Walmarts and Targets are that. And people going through and buying up all of the retail product of Bowman and Mosaic and all these other products coming out. What's your thoughts on someone going in and it's there and they consume it all at one time?
Well, it's better than having everything be there sitting on the shelves like it was 25, 30 years ago, especially, I think 25, 30 years ago. So the fact that demand is strong and is even overheated in some cases is a better problem to have, Tim.
Yeah. And one last one. We have a couple guys in line here to talk, but I want to know, what do you think of the Project 2020 and all these art-inspired cards that are coming out lately?
I think I missed it. I think it's been great. And, my favorite player, Roberto Clemente's in there. And, like many people, I'm probably kicking myself thinking that I should have jumped in early and strong on that. It looks like Topps has a winner. Hats off to him.
Yeah, outstanding. I loved what Blake Jamieson did with the 87 McGuire and how he made it an 85 McGuire as well, which makes it the perfect McGuire rookie card, in my opinion, because you merge his 85, the rookie card, with his second year in his 87. As we all know, that's the correct way. Of course. So, we're going to hop in here. We have James Hummel. What's up, James? How are you doing today,
guys? Good. How are you guys?
Love it. I love that hat.
Thank you.
That is a strong hat. One, because it's red, white, and blue. Always, I'm down with those colors all the time. But that is a strong hat, my friend.
Vancouver Canadians, of course, minor league team for the Blue Jays, #1 team right there. Ooh. Is it still cold in Minnesota or something?
Oh yeah. No, I'm in Dallas.
Was it still cold in Dallas? Like,
Well, with last night's
Dallas.
rainstorm, yeah, it is
gosh.
actually. But
So I'm jumping on for Project 2020. So can we easily say so far that it's probably one of the biggest card topics releases of the year so far?
I think so. I think it's awesome, and I think what my favorite part about it is what it's done to some other artists that weren't involved. You've seen I Draw Baseball Cards and Gypsy Oak. They've all started to do their own thing, and I love it. I love the creativity. Other people are just random people are drawing cards, and it's awesome.
Yeah, and you know what though, the part, like, I've been in from the start, right? And I think I've mentioned when I've been on with you guys before. I run a group buy here in Canada, but the people, it's hilarious. The people that were the naysayers at the start, right? Oh, what kind of product is this? These cards look horrible, and now everyone is on board. Right. I've been tracking the print runs and looking at the trends, and, the first 20, 30 cards, they were averaging about 1,500 to 2,000 cards per print run. Now we're averaging 5, 6, 7,000 cards, right? Like this past week. Yeah. Or more. What 2 cards was it 2 days ago? The Jeter and
McGuire. They both hit over 18,000.
Yeah, 20,000 and 18,000, right? Like that's ridiculous. Like there hasn't been Topps Living Set, right? There's only been 1 or 2 cards out of 300 that have approached that kind of a print run, and which are really more traditional looking baseball cards. It's crazy. The Ermsey Trout, the base card is close to $1,000 now on eBay.
No, yeah, I think it hit 1,000. I think it hit 1,000 last night. I saw it was at 99,999 on it, which is crazy. And
Topps.
As a collector of Topps Living, I'm super excited. The print runs a little low lately.
Yeah, I'm sure you are. Yeah.
I mean,
yeah. So when do you think the bubble's going to burst?
I think
that's the big question everybody's asking. When is that bubble going to burst?
James, I'll chime in here. I don't think the bubble's going to burst. I think what you're going to see now is the print runs.
Did you guys hear me?
Are going to go up.
Oh, okay.
And of course, as the print runs go up,
I don't think you can hear.
The values are going to go down. So we'll see. But I mean, Topps. I mean, they didn't do this on purpose, but the timing of this, release with the pandemic and no sports and the lack of, other products getting delayed. I mean, it just was the perfect recipe, the perfect storm for release. People got on, like you said, there are a lot of naysayers that are on board. I don't want to say I was a naysayer, but I was a little bit lukewarm to it. And now I'm fully, I love the set. My thing is, I've said this on my show, Topps' MO is to hit something like this and then do it every year. And it kind of bloom comes off the rose, as they say. What I'm hoping they do is not that, is do this every 2, 3, 4 years. And then it's something we anticipate when it's time for another Project 2023 or 2024. But if there's a Project 2021 and a Project 2022, I think that's where you're talking about the bubble burst, and I think that's where the bubble may burst.
Yeah, no, I agree with you, and James, I appreciate coming in and hanging out with us. Hope all is well, and keep supporting Project 2020 because I think it's a great thing. So
yeah, absolutely.
All right, thank you. We have the O hopping in. What's up, buddy? How are you?
I'm doing pretty good. Feeling pretty good because yesterday I loaned at my local card shop. The reopening on June 1st.
Nice. That's awesome.
Very nice.
That's nice.
And now my question is so we're seeing like all this old stuff from Topps coming back. What next thing that hasn't been around in a while that Topps has previously produced, do you think is gonna come back soon?
So something like a release they haven't done in a while, and they're gonna bring it out.
Mhm.
It's hard to say. I think right now the biggest focus for them is just kind of getting back on track with what they had. I'm trying to think of some stuff recently because they brought out so much stuff that that they've done previously. Guys, do you have any ideas or any thoughts? Or
I think they're famous for going back to the well and bringing stuff back like archives and heritage and designs, and even now with the Montgomery 582 set, they're bringing back stuff they actually never officially released, like test sets, and so they haven't left too many stones unturned. When O asked that question, I don't know if you could see the smoke coming out of my ears and the gears turning, but I'm having trouble. I'm not aware. Maybe they could put gum back into packs. I don't know, and they might have done that. I don't know, but they haven't not done too much or revisited stuff, if you will, and so it's a good question. I don't have a great answer.
Oh, I got one.
Yeah.
What if they bring back E-Tops?
Yeah. Well, I mean, some might say, that the Topps Now and some of their online stuff is sort of in that mold. I mean, it's not called E-Tops, but I remember those for sure. And maybe if they're listening, maybe they owe you some royalties if they do, launch that again.
Got a good one that springs to mind, and it might be better now with today's production quality. Topps Laser, where they die cut all the cards.
I remember those. I like those. Those were sharp.
Oh yeah, I remember Topps Laser. Yeah, I wasn't collecting at that point, but I do have a few that have popped in. I think those are pretty awesome. I'm with John here on this one. I think Steph might be too. There's so much right now that they do produce online, and they've brought back. But one thing I would like to see, and this might be just be me, but the vending boxes from the from the 70s and 80s.
Oh, like those boxes, like those big ones.
Yeah, and they're just the base cards, right? I think that'd be fun to see, and if it's just a flagship, but you don't have to open the packs, but randomly maybe there's a, they do with the factory sets, right? They always have like, here's some rookie parallels in chrome, or we'll put like the guy that pulled the Mike Trout autograph.
Yeah.
Did you guys see that out of a Target hobby set the other day? Opened it up and there's a Mike Trout out of 10 autograph. So I thought that was pretty awesome to see. But something like that might be neat. Different packaging. I know they did that with one of the Bowman Chrome in 2016. They kind of did that with what they call the vending box.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Yeah.
Well, we didn't get Dr. Beckett. I mean, he's seen a lot of stuff. I mean, Dr. Jim, anything that comes to flies to your mind, what maybe you'd like to see Topps do?
John, you're still doing my PR. Appreciate that. No, I think Topps has done an interesting thing here. Is that they're moving into there's two big movements here. One is an increasing focus on direct to consumer. And I think that's inevitable for all the card companies. I don't really like it, but it's probably inevitable. The other thing that's a good thing is that they've moved, at least in baseball, to rebalance the attention from rookies and prospects to the enduring stars and veterans. And so some of the vintage and turn back the clock and this Project 2020, there's a balance, at least, or moving toward a balance to bring back interest in the veteran stars who without forgetting about the rookies. Of course, with COVID and there's no who knows what's going to happen there. Our seasons, at least as we know it, are in jeopardy. Mm-hmm. But I love the balance, and I think some of the products that Topps are doing that appeal to the lapsed collector or the the coming back collector who loves the old stuff, but also loves it in the new form. So, Project 2020, that just opens up so much to take the basic card, and what they're doing is enhancing it in a customized, individualized way where they're looking for, and I think they've hit it with best of both worlds. The traditionalists like it, but even the old timers like it too. So again, hats off to them.
Yeah.
Now,
Go ahead.
I was just going to ask Dr. Jim. I know you said you were a little bit late. Have you got most of the Clementes? Where are you as far as the? I know that's your guy, like the 2020 Project Clementes.
No, I'm just probably, I have too many cards. So I need more cards, and so it is interesting again in the way they marketed it. I could go to the secondary market, forget the Clementes, but that it could wind up being kind of a lot more expensive. But
Yeah.
it seems like the incentives are to do the bundles.
Yeah.
Which then means you've got to sell off the ones you don't want, which also means you could have made a lot of money. But no, I'll probably just be a cheerleader on that.
Yeah.
I've got the Clementes. I'm more. Forget who had this same philosophy. Maybe I'm more into collecting the players when they're active in their career.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, thanks. So we appreciate your support every week, bud. We'll talk to you soon.
Yep.
The one thing I would love him to see come back, and just me as a nerdy flagship collector, is that you go back to the superstars are card 100, card 200, card 300, and then the guys that are right there, maybe not yet, are 150, 250, and then the guys maybe up and coming are like 115 and 125. To me, as a kid, when I was a kid, like you knew, like, hey, this card is card number 100. Oh, look at that, it's Tony Gwynn. Like, okay, and you could always go through and count on that. I also think the card number 1 should always be the World Series champion. I don't know, team card, like they did in the. I'm just, that's where I am. I'm old and crusty, I guess now, but that's how I feel. That's what I would love to see them do. So, but we have Greg Maddox coming in. Oh wait, no, that's our buddy 3B collection. Like Greg Maddox today. What's up, bud? How are we doing?
Good. How you doing, Tim?
Outstanding. What questions do you have for us this morning?
Well, I was going back to what y'all were talking about retail and everybody flying off the shelf. Is that something that's like maybe started like with the 10s with tops? I mean, I've only been back in about 2 years, so did that start with the 10s, or has it been going on before that? Or
certain products, it's been going. I want to say in the last 18 months, I think it's been bigger than anything. With I think it really started with Prism basketball stuff last year with Luka. Was when I think, because even like after it released, I remember seeing it in the stores, and I wasn't really collecting basketball, and so I just would leave it there. But yeah, I think used to be able to see Bowman blasters on the shelves for a few months, and I think the last year and a half, so many people have hopped in and also said like they see what they can do with it on the secondary, that it just kind of exploded. And the hobby has really been different, in my opinion. I don't know if anybody else agrees, since Aaron Judge in 2017 in collecting, because before that, wax prices were pretty consistent. Judge comes out, starts to have a monster year. Some more people get back in, and it just feels like it's built every year. And we've talked about this on About the Cards, where a flagship hobby box would cost you around $65, $75 on a release day, and a jumbo was a little, $100 or so. Well, now a retail or a hobby's like $100, and a jumbo's like close to $200. And we've seen it with Bowman, where a Bowman hobby was $100 and a jumbo was $150 or so on, $160. And now it's you're starting at like, I think like $320 for a hobby box and $600 for a jumbo box. Like now it's like, I think with those prices, it's gone. People have found retail. I can get very similar cards. I might not get the autographs, but I can buy a whole bunch of them and still spend way less than I am with the hobby store.
Yeah, I know I was in my local Walmart the other day, and I've been seeing where everybody saying mosaic. You know, it's not there, and my Walmart was packed. Like
I hope it wasn't packed after you left. You should have bought it.
I bought 2 packs.
Piggybacking off what Tim said, I think he's right. I think it's went to the next level with the last 2 basketball rookie classes with Luka and Zion and Ja. But I think the hype really started just with the Bowman baseball hype and the rookie and the colors and I think it started with the Bowmans going up every year and people buying it all off the shelf. And then I think with the 2 basketball rookie classes and Optic kind of making a run for Prism's title as best premium type retail product, and basketball just has warp speed to the next level. But I think Bowman started. I remember even Bowman Platinum, everyone's favorite brand. People were buying the display cases of that. I bought some, and it. So I think it started with the Bowman line, and then the basketball market just warp speed to what we see today.
Yeah, I've got to kind of agree. I mean, you had the Gordon Beckham in 2009, the Strasburg in 2010, the Harper and Trout in 11 and 12. But those were kind of one-off, singular stuff. I want to say even further back, Tim, 2015 with Chris Bryant. Especially with the Cubs winning the World Series the next year. It was a nice tease. It was a good kickstart, but 17, 18, 19, and everything afterwards is just huge.
You know, in baseball, this last year in 18, you had that rookie class in 18 and 19, the 2 back-to-back really solid rookie classes with a lot of very collectible guys on some semi-big or, larger, scale teams that people follow. Soto being on the World Series champion, that's all kind of driven these guys. Acuna being such a young stud, Alonso and all the home runs reminds us of, harkens back to McGuire's rookie year and 80. It just all of this stuff coming at once, and then a pandemic on top of it. All these different things have happened, I think, that have really changed the market and where we sit. And we talked about a bubble bursting, and I thought like this would do it. And all of a sudden, it didn't. It got bigger. So, like, I don't know what's happening, right?
Yeah, the 2 years I've been back in, it's done nothing but just climbed ever since then.
Yeah. So what's it like to be a collector just in the last 2 years, like compared to when you first were collecting?
Well, I first started back 85, I think.
Young guys.
But yeah, the heart of mine was during, I guess, the junk wax era. And it was one of those where everybody wanted everything, and you had Score, Fleer, Upper Deck, Tops, you had everything out there. And it was semi-affordable. I mean, maybe not for a 15, 16-year-old, but more so than today.
Yeah. Well, so when you came back, what was the biggest like shock or aha moment that you've had in the last 2 years?
Probably some of the amount of autographs in the packs and stuff.
Yeah.
Or, the hits, I guess. That was just starting whenever I first got out. That was just, I think that's what was driving the price of packs up, and it was kind of what pushed me away from it for a while.
Okay.
Because I don't really chase hits or autographs.
Yeah,
So,
I'm gonna say I like rookie cards. Like that's what I like. Yeah, because when I was a kid, like that's what I was.
I'm a set collector. I mean, that's what I do.
Yeah,
and then I have my players. So,
well, outstanding. But I appreciate you coming and hanging out with us today.
I got one question.
Yeah.
For Dr. Beckett, real quick.
He's charging $5 to PayPal.
That's fine. That's fine. I put it on PayPal.
Is in.
I love your podcast. I listen to it every morning when I go to work. I have noticed you've had Ben and you've had Steph, and you've actually had Angela on,
Mm-hmm.
and I enjoy listening to them. When are you gonna get Big Shep on?
I'm saving the best for last.
The money's not been right. Let's see. Our people have not had the negotiations.
I think we can make that happen.
Yeah,
Oh.
awesome,
I'll be looking for it.
outstanding. Hey, I appreciate it, and keep it up, man. You do awesome. Thank you for supporting both shows and all of us. We do really love it. So thank you.
Absolutely. Yeah, no problem. I love them.
All right, man. We'll talk soon. And then I don't know if anybody knows this guy here coming on. I'm not sure we should let him on.
No,
Uncle Rich Klein,
on at all.
who's a pseudo like 6th or 7th host on the show with all the guys.
He wins the 6th man award.
Special guest star each, making a cameo. Usually the last half hour.
He's kind of like the Fonz.
Usually doing historical perspective. But since we have somebody who knows even more about history than I do, and we're talking about retail, I thought it'd be a good idea to ask Dr. Jim. We were in Walmart, and I forgot Target too, in the 90s, and I know that you used to talk to, the gentleman's name was Harold Anderson at Treat quite often. Can you just do a little background on what it was like being in the retail and how we got into it when we were at Beckett in the 90s, and what were some of the things involved?
Well, Harold was a really smart guy. You know, the whole Anderson family everything they did was big. They were huge magazine distributors that got into cars. And he basically figured out he could make it every which way, because they would sell the product, push it in their various outlets. But also, if it didn't sell, they could bring it back, repack it, put it in with some other promotional stuff, and package it up in a different way. And so everything eventually got sold. So he built a really good business until, like I said, I think that bubble kind of popped. In fact, the whole magazine distribution business is very difficult as well. So, but I went to their warehouse one time in Alabama, and it was just amazing. You know, pallets stacked up to the sky of cards. Some were fresh and new and unopened, and others were these repacked things where they just got them. And they had a kind of an assembly line where the cards would come along, and every so often they would insert a better card. It was pretty mind-boggling. But like I say, that when we talk about the balloon popping, what we're hoping for is not that. We're hoping for, kind of taking a little air out of the balloon, not the balloon popping, but that balloon popped.
Okay. Now, my other historical perspective question. 1992, Pinnacle put a very popular insert into the retail packs called Slugfest. Mm-hmm. That was not in hobby packs. We priced them. They were cards. They were being transacted, and there was and at the time, hobby dealers were much more important, I want to say, than they are today in terms of the brick and mortar and how we as a community received our cards. Can you go through a little of what's involved in those days of making sure that we at Beckett priced the retail cards, and what did you ever get any real pushback on putting in retail cards into the magazines?
Well, we got to, again, I'm a hobby shop guy. I'm an LCS guy, from my background, and really want if the hobby is doing well, it needs a strong network of hobby shops. But retail's out there, and no matter what somebody said, those were cards that were very collectible, and we had an obligation from our position in the industry to price them according to what they were selling for. The problem later, and is increasingly now become, that if something is a one per box, not one per pack, but let's say a one per box insert from Fleer back in the day, if it was hobby as opposed to being retail, the pricing could be different, and it's migrated differently into the future because the retail even with the same pack odds, has now become tougher. And again, it's ancient history now, but if you look at some of the inserts that you think wouldn't be that tough from the the Michael Jordan inserts from the 90s and stuff, if they came out of a retail, they're probably valued a little bit more than what came out of the hobby, just because, like you said, there was a segregation there that the LCS. I mean, a few of them would go and do, like you're saying, hunt down the Walmarts and things like that. But it was, and again, the card companies were hobby first for the most part, but that just meant this retail stuff now looks like the tougher stuff to get.
And of course that came to a head a few years later, and I know you were starting to battle your health issue, your brief, when you had your heart attack, 1996-97 Chrome basketball, which ended up being retail only because not enough hobby dealers bought it. And of course you've got the Kobe Bryant rookie and other rookies that are sky high out of that compared to all the other Kobe Bryant rookies there are that year. So that one at least got accepted by the hobby. Wait a second. These are much tougher. Let's buy these. And we blew it.
Well, Rich, what you're bringing up is the reason why all five of us here are doing podcasts, because some of that nuance, that hobby history can help people, new collectors, like I said, lapsed collectors, coming back collectors, to understand why something seems to be so much more expensive than it should be. So knowing some of the history is helpful. And if you weren't there, it's helpful to hear from somebody that was there. So not everything is rational in the industry, but many more things are than what people think. And again, that's the complications of a hobby make it interesting.
Because being as analytical as you are, I'm sure some of that is just looking and saying, this is interesting. This is totally different than what you would think the normal rational analysis would say.
Yeah, but I mean, now we're talking about a generation ago.
Oh, I know, it's amazing. It feels like yesterday, but it's a generation. It's 25 years ago.
But the good thing is that, like I said, Topps and the other card companies as well, the more they can marry up this nostalgia as well as what's hot right now, to me, that's a recipe for success.
Okay, John, you had a store during the early 90s. Your first pack has a 79 Reggie Jackson. So you lived through this differently than we did. I'd love to hear your opinions on what Jim and I were just discussing.
Yeah, from my store days in 92 to 96, 4 years, I mean, I had direct accounts with Fleer, Upper Deck, Top. So I just got my allocation right from them, and cases were delivered to the store. So like Dr. Jim was saying, I sort of avoided the retail because I was able to, and so I missed that, if you will, that element of cards, because I was having cases delivered right to the store on the day of release, and we pretty much bought everything. And so I had a partner in the store, and we knew we'd sit down each week and discuss the bills, and this product's coming out. You got to remember, there was a lot less products back then too, so you could literally sit down in one day and look 2, 3, even a month ahead. Hey, this is releasing on the 14th, this is dropping on the 21st. Now you got to do that every day just to talk about 1 week's worth of a release under normal circumstances. And so it's different. So for me, it was just, we got the order form, or we got the notification. Hey, here's how many cases. I remember this. Sometimes they'd ask you how much you wanted, and you could buy more than a case if you wanted more. And that's what some of the meetings with my partner in the store was about, is how much of this do we want? How much of this? We kind of trying to gauge our market, our community. So this is going to be very popular. I don't think this is going to be great. Let's just get a case. And so that's, those days are, as we all know in this room, and probably those watching, those days seem like you said, it seems like yesterday, but it's a long time ago.
And one other question: when you mentioned the companies you got ordered direct from, I didn't hear the words Upper Deck in there. Do you not have? Did you not?
I said Upper Deck.
What?
Yep. Upper Deck. Yep. Fleer, and I remember Fleer was the toughest one. I mean, I had to take pictures of the store. I think if I remember, they wanted. I sent them a picture of my storefront with the glass and the lettering, and then I think they reached out and said, "Hey, can you have someone take a picture with you in front of that sign so we know you're just not taking a picture of someone else's store?" I'm like, all right. So, it was funny. You think maybe, I mean, Fleer was big then too, but you expect that maybe from Tops or even Upper Deck at that time. But it was Fleer that gave me like the most grief to get, online with them.
If you look back at 90, you sold your store in 96, but starting 96, 97, 98, 99, the Fleer family of brands. I mean, just think of basketball. If you set aside a case of some of those Fleer brands, that's where all the giant, outrageous, high dollar Kobe and MJ inserts are coming from. Now they're one per case, one per case for even one of the cards in the rare insert set.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, I'm personally, like, I just got me thinking of like what brands like do I really miss, and I do miss Fleer. I think that's one brand that every year had something fun, and you go back and some of the designs they had. I mean, people make fun of 91 Fleer baseball for being school bus yellow, but those black Provision cards
are amazing.
As a kid, and you go back and you look at them. And you would see them in the pack, and you would see that, and you just freak out because you're like, oh, something awesome is about to happen, and that's what I miss. And we'll never get back to that day where inserts really, people that aren't, there's some inserts that people chase, but it's all about the newest and latest, greatest autograph of a guy that puts his two letters on a card. And I understand we need that, because if not, that print switch is on, right? Because I think that's what would happen. And so, but that's really, sitting here and listening to all this, that's what I miss as a kid. Is like you would see that Provision card pop up, and some of the fun designs that they had. I mean, you look over my shoulder and you can see the '88 Brett that I had one of our listeners painted, and those little red and blue stripes. Right. It was totally different than anything else that was coming out at that point in time. So speaking of Fleer, I got one for the panel here. They kind of dropped off on the base sets in a couple years, like 2099. And I know someone in chat here, Chris Harris, has an opinion that Fleer Tradition is their base set for that year. But if they don't produce a traditional flagship, would you consider those their flagship product? Or do you just say they didn't release a base set that year?
Well, Fleer at the time considered Tradition their base set. So Chris is right. Fleer would actually come and tell us that's their base set. So that's their base set. So I'm okay with calling Fleer Tradition the base set. Because
despite the name.
Fleer was the worst offender of brand proliferation or sub-brand proliferation. And it should have helped them. And if they'd have hung on, like I said, their products in the late 90s were underappreciated at the time for the true scarcity they had, but the money wasn't in the industry, and we're coming out. So that was too bad for them. But where's the place for them in today's industry with each sport having one sole provider for the most part.
Yeah.
The other thing Fleer did, I'm going to put it in air quotes, wrong during that period. And unlike Ben saying wrong, I can actually get that word out. And they actually called our manager in the Price Cut area, Dan Hitt, and asked, why do you think people aren't buying the product? And it was like, well, one year you're calling it Fleer Showcase, next year you're calling it Flair Showcase, then you're going back to Fleer Showcase. You're not building any continuity within your own products. And that was a real issue. You couldn't say, okay, Fleer Showcase has a 6-year history or a 4-year history. In those days, 6-year history in the 90s is pretty good. But, you know, all of a sudden, every product had a 1-year history like it was new again. And you can't build a tradition if every year you're making a new product. You may catch lightning in the bottle, as we're talking about Project 2020, as John would say, Project 2021's. But if then the next year you call it Project 2021, will it be Project 2020 again? Will it be something new? I mean, and that's what they were trying to do every year.
My recollection is that Fleer back in those days, and I think there's enough time has gone by I could say this, but every card company hires smart people to try to make good decisions, not to go out of business, but to make money. And Fleer was no different in one sense, but many of the decision makers in Fleer at the time were not from within the industry. And so they were, I think, Rich, treating it a little more like a packaged goods, a consumer goods company. We can do this. This works with toothpaste or something. I mean, I'm not sure what they're now, but when we went to see them, and I don't think you were there, Rich, but when I went there with a couple of our guys, they did less listening at the time. They were more wanting to tell us what we were doing wrong. And we weren't perfect, but we always tried to have a really good dialogue with all the card companies in a kind of symbiotic way. We didn't want to be dependent on them or vice versa. But Fleer was pretty strident, and this is who we are. This is who we are. This is what we're doing. And then, poof, they weren't there.
Yeah. Isn't that what happened with Pinnacle as well in 97, 98, where Jerry Meyer came in and he had all these great retail ideas, but they weren't really hobby-focused ideas, like Pinnacle inside the cards in the can, and the bigger the box is, the more more space we'll take up in the hobby stores. And they were looking at it the exact same way from what you're telling me Fleer's looking at it.
Yeah, I got to be careful. Jerry lives not far away.
Okay, sorry about that, Jerry.
So let's say he was a very innovative executive. Not all his ideas worked, but he was out there trying, again, very capitalistic. But and like I said, it can bite you if you try to do things that work in other industries that don't necessarily work here. But the cans, what were you thinking, Jerry?
I still got some of those in my garage. True story.
So let me ask everybody else then. You know, we talk a lot about what's going on, but I always thought at the time that to do the hobby correctly, you almost had to be a contrarian in terms of the business model, where things that worked and this is 25 years ago, so it could be different, but the contrarian viewpoint worked better than the standard viewpoint. Do you think that we're more standard viewpoint today, or do you think if y'all pay more attention to the new card market than I do? So, or do you think if somebody did something contrarian, it could really explode? Or do you think something like 2020, Project 2020 is the contrarian viewpoint?
Well, I think it's kind of, you know, it's a toe into the water. You know, I think that a lot of people like and this goes to say the Leaf, right? Because they're doing it a completely different way. They're putting out products without the logos, and I think one of their biggest successes is the repack stuff of other people's product with one of their cards in there. And not a lot of people are fans with the way that goes about. I believe from the feedback and things I've heard and seen, where I think people are more into the traditional, like, I want the logos, I want it to have this and that. And that's why we see some more success. There's a few things where I think people give that up as higher end stuff. Like we'll see with National Treasures baseball. Some people give it up on that because of what that can bring in. So, but we have a longtime supporter here of the show, Mark Hoyle. Mark, what's up, bud? How are we doing today?
Mark.
Hey, Mark.
Hey guys. I got a bad connection, so I don't know how this is going to come out. basically just calling in to say thank you to all you guys for the podcast. Very interesting. Dr. Beckett, John, all you guys listen to all the shows.
Well, thanks, Mark.
Well, thanks. We really appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Hey, Rich, how you doing? Just calling in to say thank you to all you guys for what you do for the hobby. All the shows are entertaining. Dr. Jim, I listen to you every morning. John every Friday. Stephan, Big Shep every Thursday on my ride. So I just appreciate it. It's just a big thank you.
Well, we appreciate it.
I get a bad connection, so I don't know how this is going to come out.
That's our. Well, yeah, Mark, it's awesome. We appreciate it. And the one thing is if you've not heard of it or seen of it, Mark has. And there's some crazy stuff. I know he drives Ben nuts all the time because Mark will send him, hey, did you know the A's had this card that came out and this rare tobacco that was only released in 18, and then Mark then he's got to add it to the checklist. I know that he makes it grow all the time. But we have one of our other hosts here. What's up, Drew? Drew's stopping in. He's got the weekend off. He's out gallivanting around town.
Everybody?
What's up, buddy?
Morning.
How's everybody going? Doing good?
Oh, we're having an awesome time. I've taken in more knowledge today than I have in months.
Anybody, so.
Hey, Drew, you got to fire your makeup guy.
And why would that be?
Me too. I'm not. Listen, I'm in the same boat. I'm just saying.
Well, what are you just saying here? That's the important part. What are you just saying now?
You're better looking than I am, except today. Maybe I got a shot, is what I'm saying.
Hey, well, if it's my day off, bud.
I hear you. I'm just busting your chops.
Hey, John's the one guy that looks better with a mask on.
It's true
today, guys.
It is true.
Jim, it's great to talk to you again, Uncle Rich, as always. Actually, I had a quick question. And Rich, you kind of alluded to it just a few minutes ago, and it made me think of something. Do you know the actual story behind back when Pinnacle, I believe it was 97, 98, Pinnacle put out their Be a Player hockey set. It was one of the first sets where you had one auto per pack. And it was really a game changer in the hobby in some ways, especially in hockey. But Series A came out, but then when Series B came out, apparently something happened, and not many Series B boxes ever made it out onto the floor, period. Do you have any backstory on that or exactly what happened?
Jim, you might know.
It's possible. I don't know the exact timeline, but the reason why some products are late sometimes is because of accounts receivable,
right?
Payable. So, I mean, right now, you've got a problem where things were backlogged just because of the COVID situation. But if you go back into the 90s,
yeah.
Now,
was that right around the time when they were going? They were pretty much going bankrupt, weren't they, or selling everything off?
Perhaps they were, cash flow issues. You just don't know.
Right. Absolutely. Well, it was just something that I was always curious about, as for some reason you can find the Series A all the time and Series B you can't. And just figured if anybody had those answer, it would be
Did you say it was
Uncle Rich or Jim?
Drew, did you say it was 97, 98?
Yes, sir. 97, 98 Pinnacle Be a Player Series B.
By 98, Pinnacle started getting, at least in baseball, where I was still working on the magazine, a lot spottier in how, as Jim said, a lot of the products were coming out.
Mm-hmm.
They were having issues in 98 already. So, and we saw that in the pricing area with the issues they were having. So it's very plausible, as Jim said, yes, there's the accounts payable, accounts receivables issue.
Gotcha.
But it had been such a success on both a corporate and a publicity level with the signature series in baseball in the 96 and the 97.
Yeah.
It made sense. Hey, we got a hockey license. Let's do the same thing. And hockey players cost a lot less to get signed than baseball players.
And they had a really great checklist that year. Hockey was really taking off. You had a lot of great rookies with Thornton and everyone coming out. You had Sakic, Waugh, Brodeur, Richter. You had that almost glory years of hockey. And for some reason, which I've never been able to find out, which is why I'm trying to find a box of Series B listeners. You guys hear me talk about it on the show all the time, but they're about impossible to find. And I was wondering if there was a backstory behind that was known or not, but apparently not.
Well, awesome, Drew.
But,
hey, enjoy
thanks, you guys. And
sounds like you're having fun. Enjoy your time out of the house.
Definitely.
Oh, I'm outside of the house right now just to talk to you guys. I'm right back in and going back to work.
Well, enjoy, bud. Thank you very much.
And going back to work, but just wanted to call in and say hi, guys. Don't want to hijack the show by any means, but Jim, always a pleasure to talk to you. Uncle Rich, I'm sure I'll talk to you next week. Newman, Shep, everyone else, have a good one, guys.
You too.
All right,
There's Drew. I have a quick question. It brings up an idea. Is that a few years ago when I was trying to build up some missing flagship sets, my idea was maybe to get a box or two and do that before I decided to buy and build them myself like I used to. Instead, I ended up buying them direct or complete factory sets of. So I left in about 94, 95. I kind of left the hobby for a while. But
good luck with 97 Hobby Factory Top Set.
What's up?
Good luck with 97 Hobby Factory Top Set.
Yeah, I don't know. I have the set. I don't remember if it was factory or not, but I do have a set. I think it was hand built. But my question is finding those boxes from like 95 through the mid 2000s, finding just a flagship box of any series of tops seems pretty difficult. Now I know with the strike that happened in set price, the card count and the sets went down and other things. Did that have an impact on how much they were actually producing as well?
Probably.
Yeah. Okay, because it just seems like that stuff I can't see it all. But we have our buddy at Texas Card Dude. What's up, bud? How we doing?
Good morning, everybody. I jumped on to say hi to Mr. Newman. This is the reason why I jumped back into the hobby. This guy right here, Mr. Pete Alonso.
I like that guy.
Mr. Polar Bear, and I just started listening to your podcast. I started from the top down, so I'm listening to Mr. Beckett. Honor and privilege to at least say hi. We'll start your podcast here in the next couple of days. Just wanted to say hello to everybody. Y'all have a very, very happy Memorial Day.
You too. Thank you, sir.
You too.
And then I think we all know this guy here. What's up, Stale Gum? It's Chris Harris.
We talking 90s baseball?
Yes.
Yes. Right up my alley.
There's nothing better than 90s baseball.
I mean, it's great.
Out of the park. It was a good time to collect.
Ron Gantfell.
Uncle Rich talked about the Flair showcase. I was a huge fan of the Flair back in the day. The hot numbers. I mean, some of those card designs were great. I remember getting some of them, and that was during my store days, and not even wanting to put them out in the showcases for sale. Like, oh, I want to keep this. Oh, I want to keep that. They had something there with the showcase. Then they did the basketball by the rows. So I forget, most I don't remember. Like row 1 was worth more than row 2 and 3, and so there was like kind of a tier level, kind of what we see with Select now. But Showcase did that
fractured base
back
sets
then.
Mm-hmm.
One of my favorites back in the day. You guys remember Topps Embossed?
Yep.
Yep.
They came and they had that cello pack. My buddy has like 4 of these packs with the Jordan, and he's never opened the packs. It just has the Jordan on the outside, and like that, I was having to dig through to find it. But that's another thing I would love to come back. A little thicker cardstock. The guys bumped out a little bit, gave a little bit of a more 3D look to the card. That'd be awesome if that came back at some point.
Action Packed. Remember Action Packed?
Yeah.
Nah. We don't need that. That's all right.
How about Wild? We bring back Wild Card where you could get 10,000.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember that too.
So I gotta
let's keep them back in the junk wax. Please.
I got a good one for you guys.
Right there with the cards in a soup can.
It's a bit of a throwback to vintage. What with my recent mail day, Howie Shanks. But recent mail day plus the only thing that's comparable is Topps Oots. How about more food tie-ins? There's a lot of wasted space here, and I get it. But then you also have like the.
I know Utz is doing that. I think there's another brand that's food cards. The name escapes me, but yeah, not like it used to be. I remember cereal boxes. Hostess, obviously, and all those Drakes. I remember the Drakes baseball cards. I ate a lot of Yodels as a kid to get the baseball cards, and yeah, you don't see that much anymore. Like you said, Utz Chips is the first one that just comes to mind now, and
I had lots of Hostess Twinkies to get the cards at the bottom of the box.
Yeah.
My dad had a lot of Jello.
You guys eat
a lot of Jello back in the day for those the cardboard ones, and I have most of those. But he put them in a paper binder that you could get, the little newspaper. They're all glued down, but that's why he never ate Jello as an adult. He ate all that Jello and pudding to get those cards.
I got a question for everybody, and it's just a quick answer. But if the National, instead of being postponed, had been relocated to Chicago or whatever your favorite venue is and kept with the same dates, would you have attended if somebody gave you a free ticket? End of July, would you feel safe to go to a card show, a big card show?
Or I'll answer first. If I can, I'd probably say, yeah, I'd wear, my mask. It would be odd. I rather would be under different circumstances, but I already had the time off, so I wouldn't have to schedule it. I just wonder if there would be enough yeses to even make the event happen.
If you were to ask me that about a month ago, I think yes, but the longer this keeps going on, the more I'm saying no. I'm not even sure that if you were to give me a free ticket, it's even going to be worth it. I mean, who else is going to show up here?
Yeah, I don't think
how many dealers are going to show up for a national in Chicago. So, and when you factor in transportation, lodging, 5 days worth of meals, I'm not even sure if that would even be worth it.
Okay,
I'm curious too if the one in December in Atlantic City, the logistics of that, does it happen, and what percentage of the people that were slotted for the end of July one still can go or will go to that, or will a lot of people? In my case, I'll wait till Chicago in 2021, but how many other people are going to wait for Chicago rather than go to Atlantic City in December?
Well, I'm East Coast, so I'm going to go, but
yeah,
I don't see that many people, especially the way it's formatted, starting on Saturday and then ending on a Wednesday. And those last couple of days, that Tuesday and Wednesday, it's going to be dead. DEAD.
Okay, so what I was trying to say is Red Barber, the old-time classic sportscaster, would write these books, and one of the things he touched on is, if you're going to pass, would you want to do it at your pinnacle moment? And for most of us, going to a national is a pinnacle moment. So if you think about it in that term, I'll take the ticket. If that's how I'm going to pass, I'm going to be with my friends. I'll have my mask on, and hopefully somebody will take it off to assist to take me. But at least I'll be doing something I truly enjoy and love. And so, so I'll give it a qualified yes, where if that's all I had to do, I'd go.
Okay, so the new marketing pitch for the National: come and die with your friends.
Well,
come to Atlantic City and die.
my point is that if
More than
something
one
happened
reason.
to you, at least you did something. You were in the process of doing something you truly loved.
Sponsored by Bristol Myers.
I would think Blue Cross Blue.
Oh, there you go. Even or combination of both.
Yes.
So we have a great question. Matt wants to know, he's never been to a national. What is everyone's favorite location to go?
Rich probably. I'm thinking Rich or Dr. Jim's probably been to the most in this room. So
Jim's been to everyone, so let him go first.
Dot Havary.
But that's not a national. We're going to talk about that on Wednesday night at our.
I'm going to go because that's my second favorite show. But Chicago's pretty hard to beat, of being accessible to everybody kind of equally. If we're in Dallas, I wouldn't mind that, but it's Chicago's been special. The logistics are excellent. The restaurants, the hotels, everything is right there. You kind of know the lay of the land. So again, if they can get the health considerations worked out, hopefully, again, Atlantic City's a little bit of a problem. That's known, but all those negatives or potential negatives for Chicago's a site with, I'm not sure there's any negatives. That'd be my favorite.
Okay, and I'll agree with Jim that Chicago is perhaps the best site. But among the other sites to go to, my other favorite locations in terms of especially what I do now are Baltimore, and it's been a long time since we've been there, and Anaheim, and St. Louis wasn't bad either. Any place where it's centrally localized, where you can walk from most of the hotels to the Shell, where there's enough infrastructure in the general area. And Baltimore has the advantage of being the south end of the megalopolis, or the Acela corridor, or whatever term you want to use for the East Coast, which is where a lot of the hobby has still been strongest, along with the Midwest over the years. And Anaheim, we haven't been to Anaheim since 2006. I think yes, Chef, we're going to come visit you. But, we do need at some point to get back west of the Mississippi to some extent.
I'd rent a van and come down. So because Steph remembers all this stuff, I bought it last year's National, which was maybe the only one I ever get to go to, which was amazing because I got to meet I missed out on meeting John. I got to meet almost everybody else. And I came back with a truckload of stuff on an airplane. So.
And so I'm going to tell a little story about Shep. So Dr. Jim spends Saturday at one of his friends' tables, and I would every once in a while circle, and most of the people were very, Jim, so-and-so wants to meet you. And everybody is very respectful, very quiet, except for one person who's boisterous and out loud, but thankfully he's got a good personality, so it's nothing bad. Shep was a little bit boisterous in his excitement. So I
went. Let's just be honest. I blacked out and I went numb, and afterwards I walked all the way to and this was in the middle part of and I walked all the way to the back, and sat in a corner for 20 minutes just to collect myself. So, yeah. So yeah, I apologize. I just I went. Yeah.
Well, I might have set him up too.
Nothing wrong. I just want.
Well, no. When I introduced myself, and Dr. Beckett goes, "Oh yeah, Big Shep," and I almost fell over, and it would have taken a team of oxen to get me back up. So yeah, that was that made it. I mean, right there was yeah, that could have been died at the National. If that would have been it, that'd have been.
There you go. There's your pinnacle moment.
There we go. That's what it was.
So Shep, I asked Jim, so I'm going to tell this. So I asked him about, several times during that time, there's a guy sitting next to him at that table. What did the guy think about? Did the guy ever ask you, why are you being introduced to all these people? And what did the guy ever say to you? And he says, I'm done with this box. You want to switch boxes? That's all apparently the conversation they had the whole time. So they were both kind of focused. Yeah. So don't worry about it.
Chris, what's your favorite location to go to with the National?
Chris.
Yes,
Chris. Me.
Yes.
I just said Bruce. I'm sorry.
Okay. I mean, you look a lot like Batman, so I wouldn't.
Yeah, I need to shave this off. I'm an East Coast guy, so I don't mind Atlantic City. Cleveland is drivable. I have a friend who lives in Cleveland, and we carpool to Chicago.
As long as it's not East Side.
Yeah, as long as it's not the East Side. I really don't have a preference, to be honest with you. I guess Atlantic City.
There you go. All right. Well, Chris, we appreciate. We have another caller.
Yeah.
We have another caller that's been sitting for a minute, so I'm going to bring them in. We appreciate it, Chris. Thank you.
All right.
Let's see.
Same person.
Yeah. There we go.
He's back.
Card Talk. What's up, fellas?
Hey, there's my
All right, took us a second there.
That's no problem. How you guys doing?
Hey
there.
Kevin and Lauren. Hey, Kev. Hey, Lauren.
Hey, how you doing, John?
Hey, John.
Good. Welcome.
Thanks.
So let me give you like a proper plug for those that don't know. These two gentlemen do a YouTube podcast, and they do a lot of shows all through the week. I was just on last night's show. They turned the tables on me and interviewed me. But these two guys, what I love about these two guys is they're having fun. It's contagious. They're very enthusiastic about the hobby and what they do, and I love to see that in the hobby. So I'm going to have them on my show here shortly. I got all these 2020 project guys coming on. I can't get like everyone else on, but you're on my list. I'll get you, and welcome.
I've been binge listening to your podcast last week. This actually, this little community that you guys have was just introduced to us by John. So we're looking forward to listening to some of you guys' others podcasts. Obviously, Dr. Beckett, you're an icon in the hobby. So Kevin and I were just talking before we got on that. I remember like almost probably the first Beckett I bought had a little insert of cards on it. One was, I believe, a Mark McGuire, and the other one was a Babe Ruth. Do you guys remember these things? It was a panel of cards inside the Beckett.
The perforated, yeah.
Yeah, do you guys remember those? No.
And not a sports card magazine by Krause?
That was SCD, I think, or whatever it was.
The only cards we ever had.
Cards. We only did licensed cards that were kind of whatever, the gummy stuff.
We had a year of doing samples from, I think, Donruss Leaf Playoff. And didn't we put the other one of your Topps Heritage cards in the magazine one month?
Yeah, fan favorite in 05 or 04. Yeah. But still, the insert of cards in there was, I think in the long run, it probably didn't increase sales that much and was a little bit of a headache. That's why you don't see that happen too much.
I know that a lot of those, I know Baseball Card Magazine, I believe. I bought all those magazines. I loved, and obviously the Beckett was the Bible as far as price guides went, but all the content and the articles you got to read in every single one, Tough Stuff magazine. That's a question.
Hey, I wrote for them.
Yeah. Yeah. Obviously you guys must not have known each other back in the day, because I was wondering why Dr. Beckett didn't ever ask you to write for Beckett magazine.
I wish he would. I would have. I don't think I was good enough. I had to settle for Tough Stuff. I had to start a little bit in the like AA, AAA. I didn't get the call to the big leagues.
So go ahead. I'm sorry.
We didn't poach, so if John would have come to us, but I don't think somebody else.
I you know what? It's funny. I don't remember that. I don't remember what I had for dinner yesterday, so I don't remember. I would probably, if I had to say, it might be like I didn't feel like I would have loved to. Don't get me wrong. I probably felt like, I wasn't either. I wasn't good enough, or maybe you had to know whether it's true or not. Maybe you had to know somebody, and so I don't think I would have loved to. It just didn't happen.
I have a question for Dr. Beckett. What went into deciding the covers for the different monthly magazines, that came out for baseball, football, all the sports? because that was always my favorite thing. Is if George Brett was on the front of the back, I was so excited. I mean, I still have them, but what went into that process of deciding who went on the front?
I was very involved with that. Obviously, in the beginning, it was mostly me, myself, and I. But one thing I did that I instilled that was, they quit doing it in the 2000s or in the 90s, in the mid late 90s. But basically, in the beginning, we sometimes would print the cover as late as possible in order to get a timely subject choice. And we had a great network of photographers out there to where we could get something. And sometimes we even had the cover printed in a different place simultaneously, and then put back together with the magazine. So we were waiting as late as possible to have a cool choice, and that's why one of the, not arguments, but Mark Harwell, who was president later on, said we need to promote who's going to be on the cover. This month, we've got to tell them who's on the cover next month. I said, well, I don't think that's wise, even though you'd get some increase, but we don't know what's going to happen in the next few weeks. We should play it by ear and then make a big splash. So part of what I think we created, Tim, was some suspense, some mystique that who was going to be on the cover. And I think most readers and collectors trusted that we were going to make a choice that would be, again, striking the balance between, what's hot right now and some of the enduring stars of the hobby, which was, again, if you look at that very first baseball issue, there was the first several issues there was an older player and a younger player.
I loved collecting basketball back in the day, and when they first came out, I'd be up at my card shop, and I remember the anticipation of waiting every month for that to come out. And you're exactly right, like who was going to be on the cover. It was like, knew the day was coming, driving up there. I knew the card shop owner, he'd give me a call, hey, it's in, don't tell me. So I'd run up, and I remember that was very good, not knowing who was going to be on it and the anticipation. And
the big Shep's comment about the 100, 200, 300 cards in Topps and card number one, there was no suspense of who would be the volume one, number one of the basketball magazine. That was Michael Jordan,
right?
And Caskey and hockey. So
yeah, I know. I remember waiting at I knew, because I had a subscription of baseball and football, and so waiting for those to come in the mail monthly was awesome. Guys, hey, we appreciate it. Give us a little plug on your show real quick, because we have one last caller we're going to bring in today before we end the show. But give us a little plug about your show and where we can catch it.
Well, we are on YouTube under the Sports Card Talk Show. We interview and talk with other collectors and podcasters and YouTubers and Instagram people and Twitter people. Just basically anybody that wants to come on and talk cards, we love to have them on.
Yeah, you can DM us on Instagram or email us. It's Sports Card Talk Show at gmail.com.
Awesome, guys.
There's no in our email. Just Sports Card Talk Show.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, we appreciate it, guys. Thank you, and much success to you, okay?
Yeah, thank you.
Great. We lost that last caller, John P., but guys, we've hit a little over an hour. We try to keep it to 60 minutes or so, but we had phenomenal guest on today, Dr. Beckett. Thank you so much for coming and spending your morning with us. And Uncle Rich, as always, the fifth horseman, or
I'm the special guest star that shows up halfway through the show.
You're like Bill Walton on those mid-'80s Celtics team, just coming off the bench for a few minutes and doing what you can.
He's the jump the shark moment in the show.
All right, everybody. Well, remember, we're live every Saturday morning at 8 a.m. Pacific, 11 a.m. Eastern on YouTube, Facebook, and Periscope. Make sure to subscribe and review our show on all the platforms. And always follow us on Twitter at Hobby Hotline and send your questions our way. We really appreciate when all you guys hop in. A lot of great listeners today. And thank you all. We'll have another round of Yahoo host next week, because we're a bunch of goofballs, and we'll have lots of fun. I think Dan from Mojo Break will make his second appearance next week, I believe. So that'll be fun. Guys, we'll see you all next week and have a good one.
You guys too.